This week, the buzz goes to a party of cartoon voice greats. Meet the man behind the mask on the bridge of the Enterprise. Why it isn't easy to find Harlan Ellison's books. And the king of the bees, Sam Arkoff.
I was a teenage werewolf, I was a teenage Frankenstein, a teenage caveman, hot rod girl, drag strip girl, etc., etc.
Hello, buzzers. Mike Jarek here with a probing question. When you were growing up, who was your favorite anthropomorphic character? If you don't know what that means, I would suggest watching the Weather Channel, okay? My favorite was Yogi Bear. Hey, boo-boo. And speaking of boo-boos, come on over here and talk to Susan Hyman, our top field producer here at Sci-Fi Buzz. Now, you recently went to this great party where you got to meet some cartoon characters. Well, at least their voices. You were hearing voices.
Great voices.
Yeah, was it fun?
Mike, I'm standing there talking to Scooby-Doo and Rocky the Squirrel, two of my all-time favorite cartoon characters.
Wow.
It wasn't just fun. It was really a highlight of my life.
Well, Rocky.
Hokey Smoke, you're not quite so big as a moose.
Well, no, and I don't have any antlers.
Some of the legends of animation were honored in Los Angeles recently at a festive bash compliments of the Cartoon Network. Weaving our way through the colorful crowd, we absorbed an array of familiar sights and sounds.
When you see the faces of the people, and they come and they say, I watched what you did, and we grew up on them, and my children are growing up on them. I mean, that's a legacy, isn't it?
Yes, I would think that is,
Yeah, for me.
to leave all of that as we go on to the hereafter.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going.
Though you might not recognize these two fellas face first, you know their names, Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera, the minds behind Fred Flintstone, Tom and Jerry, and Yogi Bear, to name a few. After 50 years in the business, these guys know how to brew a successful cartoon.
I'm smarter than the average bear.
But Hanna and Barbera were far from the only experts in the room. Friz Freleng has been known to conjure up a character or two, or 10 as well.
What's up, Doc?
You remember the characters, like Bugs Bunny. You can't remember all the things he did, but you remember him.
Sure, we love Bugs and Yogi and Fred, but while searching high and low to find out why we're so enamored of them, we found one answer from an unlikely source.
Well, you know, animation, as it were, is so beloved because not only does it present an alternative reality, which is very unhuman-like in a way, it also is amazing to me because animation is in effect the creation of the illusion of motion from a rapidly projected series of still images.
Okay, Weird Al Yankovic might not be considered a solid source on the subject of sentiment. So we posed our question to outspoken legends Don Messick and June Foray. Why does the American public yearn for cartoons?
Hokey Smoke, Winkle, look at that thing. I was a squirrel, and I've never been a squirrel before. Or a Russian spy.
My goodness, you've been a jokey Smurf.
Yes, I've been a jokey Smurf. Yeah, and there's Papa Smurf.
Yes, indeed.
Oh well, ask a stupid question. A lot of us grew up watching cartoons on the boob tube. But Noel Blanc, son of the late great vocal wizard Mel Blanc, actually lived with over 1,500 cartoon characters.
I thought I saw a putty cat.
After directing his dad for 25 years, Noel can imitate some of Mel's more popular characters. Among his favorites?
Porky, the porker.
And Daffy Duck.
And, you know, ooh, I thought I saw a pudding can. And, what's up, Doc?
Things like that.
Sploing, boing, bam, splat.
After pressing precious limbs into a bin of cement for immortalization, the legends of animation and their guests were ready to re-enter the real world. Fortunately, Friz, Bugs, Noel, and Porky offered to send us off in style.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Cool it, Porky. We're just getting started here. That's not all, folks, at all. Now, a lot of Hollywood filmmakers seem to be fans of cartoons, and it's affected them. They're making big screen features now featuring cartoon characters like that Hanna-Barbera classic, The Flintstones. That's being turned into a feature film with a perfect casting job here. John Goodman from Roseanne is playing Fred.
That's right. And Hanna-Barbera seem to be happy about it, but they want to make sure his legs are just right. You've got to have stubby caveman legs. You can't have white, skinny legs, and I just can't imagine that being a problem.
Me either. Now, I've never seen John Goodman's bare flesh legs, but they've got to be fairly portly.
I think it should be great.
Also watch for a Hanna-Barbera classic, Tom and Jerry. And isn't that their most favorite cartoon?
I would say most favorite and most famous. They're very
really?
excited about Tom and Jerry.
That's also going to be a feature film this summer. Watch for that. When the Buzz reconnects, Michael Dorn without prosthesis. And later, the king of beasts, bikes, and bikinis. Just brushing up here on my Klingon phrases from the Klingon dictionary. Susan, help me out here, will you? I'll give you a quiz. Do you know what England means? Sleep. Okay, how about epic? Susan, go away. Do you know what pagong means? You're fired. That's what that means. Or I'll take your spleen out with a fork. Okay, you know, come to think of it, I thought that Michael Dorn used to just make up these things off the top of his head. Well, no. They come out of a dictionary. Recently, I talked with Michael during his hiatus from Star Trek: The Next Generation, and we learned a lot about the guy who was first in the makeup chair every day.
Klingons do not pursue relationships. They conquer that which they desire. However, Lieutenant Desora serves under my command.
Though millions of viewers recognize Worf, the Klingon, on Star Trek: The Next Generation, few people know what the actor behind the alien actually looks like. When we interviewed Michael Dorn, we were surprised to meet a very handsome guy, sporting a summer beard during his hiatus from filming.
I mean, I've always played nice guys and real, straight as an arrow and, and doctors and lawyers. And this guy is complete opposite. So I'm having a ball with it. I want you to assist me in performing the Hekba ceremony. I want you to help me die.
What? Dorn says this is the best role he's ever had, but it comes at a steep price. Playing Worf is extremely demanding because of the elaborate makeup required to turn Michael into an alien.
I go one chair and they put the glue and the head and color and all that. Then I go to another chair and they put the wig on and coif it. And then I go back to this chair and they put the goatee and mustache and do some more coloring. And it's by the time, people are just dragging in at 7 o'clock, I'm like, I've been there for a while, and it's pretty wild.
With a long makeup session added to an already long day of filming, Dorn has practically no time for a personal life.
All I have is just the weekend. Usually you go home and if you have a big scene the next day, you read the script and do your lines, and then you're in bed by 9. Well, I get up at 4 to get there at 5, and makeup's 2 hours, and I stay usually, this year has been really rough. We've been there until like 9 every night, and Friday night is the worst because they can work us. We don't have to get up the next morning, so we are there until about 11. Sir.
Yes, Lieutenant.
I believe I know why our messages are not being answered. Gowron has been rewriting Klingon history.
For the entire 16 to 18 hours that Michael is at work, he has to stay in makeup, and that can be very inconvenient, particularly at lunchtime.
We went to the commissary at Paramount a few times during the first year, and that was nice. It was kind of fun. It's Hollywood, But then after that, it got a little much because, whenever I go in there, no matter when it was, people would stop eating, and they'd start pointing and dropping their salad forks.
While Dorn draws too much attention with his makeup on, he doesn't draw any attention with his makeup off. That's because most Star Trek viewers don't know what he looks like, a situation that Michael considers a mixed blessing.
It's wonderful that I don't get recognized. The anonymity is just perfect, because not only for now, but for later, when I do decide to go on, nobody's going to typecast me as Worf, oh, we want that Worf character, nothing like that. And also, But it is, the other side is that it is a hit show. I mean, it's doing very well, and you'd like somebody once in a while to go, oh, I love what you're doing, you know? Instead of like, who are you? What do you do? Well, I'm on Star Trek. Oh, really? What do you do? Well, I play an alien. Oh, yeah, which alien? You have to go through this whole thing.
Though the job is short on recognition and long on hours, Michael Dorn isn't complaining because he realizes that with Worf, he's got the role he once wished for.
When Mask, the movie Mask came out, and The Elephant Man, I said, you know, it would be great to do a show, you know, where you have a lot of makeup and you can create this character. And you should always be afraid of what you wish for, you know.
I know what you mean, Michael. There are people that suggest that I do this show with a mask on. Well, all you buzzers out there, listen up. Here's the buzzboard line, 213-851-7235. Give us a call anytime, 24 hours a day. Operators are always standing by for your tips on the best in sci-fi, fantasy, and horror.
Hi, this is Gail from Palo Alto, California. I just finished reading The Last Command by Timothy Zahn. This is the third and final chapter in his Star Wars series, which follows the further adventures of Luke Skywalker and his friends. At 400-plus pages, it is more of the same thing, so if you like the other two Star Wars novels, then I suggest you check it out.
An unusual best bet after this break. We thought we'd stretch our legs and do a bit of traveling on this week's Buzz Best Bets. If you plan on visiting Japan anytime soon, try to catch a new $25 million stage spectacle that pays tribute to an American sci-fi celluloid genius. George Lucas's Super Live Adventure is touring the land of the rising sun through early fall. This multi-sensory extravaganza was conceived by master showman Kenneth Feld. Feld also happens to be the force behind the greatest show on earth, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
The difficulty in this project was really incorporating all the George Lucas films and trying to tie them together and then mix film clips with what I would say is reenactments of scenes that are in the spirit of George Lucas.
Using state-of-the-art lighting and sound systems, the high-tech showcase pays homage to the wizard behind blockbusters like Indiana Jones and Star Wars. So George Lucas fans with a yen for excitement, save your dough, because this summer, the action is happening across the Pacific. That's this week's Buzz Best Bet. Our resident commentator on the passing scene is award-winning author Harlan Ellison. When we call him award-winning, that's an understatement. Harlan has won more awards for his 58 books, more than 1,100 stories, articles, essays, and columns than any other living fantasist. His film criticism has been appearing for the last 8 years in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, and like our commentaries here, is called Harlan Ellison's Watching.
One of the things that gets me crazy, and it gets every writer crazy, whether they're in this field or any other genre, is getting one of these letters from somebody in East Chittling Switch, Georgia, or some other center of great wisdom, saying, well, I know you're a great writer, and I just love your works, but I can't find any of your books on the newsstand. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you why, dummy. You also can't find Joseph Conrad's books, or Edith Wharton's books, or Mark Twain's books. That's because this is a market-driven industry. If any part of that phrase confuses you, turn to the person next to you and say, what means that, market-driven? What it means is that the ad men and the marketing people and the advertising people tell you what will go and what will sell and what will not sell. Now, if I have a book come out today, a paperback, and it goes on sale, and they put it in the 7-Eleven spinner racks, right? Now, first of all, the top pockets of those 7-Eleven spinner racks are purchased by the big paperback houses. We're talking Pocket Books and New American Library, which is Signet Books, and Bantam and Dell. And that means that if you're in one of the lesser companies, you are stuck in one of the lower pockets. Now, you know yourself when you go into one of those 7-Elevens or some other fast shopping place, you spin the rack and you look at what you can see. You do not bend down, because if you bend down, 27 people are going to trip over you and dump their Slurpees all over you. So that means that if you got a book in one of those bottom pockets, forget it. You are necky hokey, no price. You can't sell the book. But let's say that the book does get up into one of those upper pockets. How long does it stay there? What is that? A month? What, you said, what, 6 weeks? And you over there sitting on the sofa stuffing your face with Twinkies. What'd you say? What, a week? No. What you've got is 4 days. 4 days before they bring in the next batch of books. In the course of a month, paperback publishers will publish something like 2,000 different titles. Now that means that the only ones that are going to get really put on the top are Danielle Steele and Stephen King and Louis L'Amour when he was alive, and whoever is this month's flavor of the month, you know, like John Grisham. And that means that everybody else who is called mid-list gets shoved to the bottom. Now that's the ideal situation. You want to know how long it is in the biggest newsstand in America? First of all, do you know where the biggest newsstand in America is? No. Good guess, but no. I'll tell you where it is. It's at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. They have the largest newsstands in the world there. In those satellites, they sell more paperbacks per annum than entire cities, entire states. And you know how long you've got there to make it? How long you say? What? 1 day? 2 days? 5 days? No. You got 3 hours. One day I was waiting for a plane. I was transferring heaven knows where. And I met the guy who comes around with the little cart. And he's dragging the slab cart behind him that's got all the boxes of books. And I'm watching him fill the pockets in these newsstands in the different satellites. And I said, how long can you tell when a book sells there? He says, you got 3 hours. He will load up a pocket. He'll put 4 of everything. And then he will go away. His rounds around all of the satellites of O'Hare Airport take him 3 hours. When he comes back, if he put up 6 copies of my book, and there are 4 still there, and he put up 13 copies of the Stephen King book, and there's 1 there, out come my 4, and in go 13 more of Stephen's books. Now, that's why you can't find any of my books. I got 59 books. None of them are in print at the moment. And I'm not the only one.
If you like the bees, you'll love this guy, Sam Arkoff.
Yeah, this is Ed Bittner from Saginaw, Michigan, recommending The Dying Earth trilogy by Jack Vance. The Dying Earth, Eyes of the Overworld, and Kugel's Saga, and they're good reads.
Okay, staff, when I say Sam Arkoff, what do you think of? Let's try that again.
I was a teenage werewolf.
I'd have to agree with you. Think of the 50s and 60s movies without Sam. They would have been dull. You know, Sam is 75 years old this very week, and he is still one of Hollywood's most colorful characters.
Many people have called me a legend, which I always disclaim, because I claim a legend is horizontal, and although I'm not very tall, I'm still vertical.
After 40 years in Hollywood as an independent producer, Samuel Z. Arkoff is still spreading his own brand of movie-making gospel to anyone willing to lend an ear.
My philosophy always has been, make what you think the public will buy, because I don't have any subsidies. If I can't make a go of it, then I'm going to go out of business. I'm not going to be able to make more pictures, and that isn't what I want to do.
In 1952, Arkoff hooked up with a film distributor named Jim Nicholson, and American International Pictures was born. Over the next decade, AIP dared to go where no filmmaker had gone before, turning out B-movie classics like I Was a Teenage Werewolf, I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, and Beach Blanket Bingo.
When young people came into puberty, a whole new set of complications. Nobody ever dealt with them before. In a Disney picture, for example, to an 8-year-old kid, the most important thing in life was, my puppy is lost. Well, when you're 18, for God's sakes, there are a lot of other questions just as important, is where in the hell is my puppy?
Once AIP started tapping into the teen scene, they knew they needed a clever marketing scheme. So they threw the bulk of their energies into one eye-catching area, titles.
Jim Nicholson, my partner, was a great title man. He would think up the titles at night. He'd come in the morning, and he'd test them on me. And I remember well the morning when he came in and said, I have a great title, but my wife thinks I'm crazy. I says, what's the title? He says, I Was a Teenage Werewolf. See, it seemed like a joke right out of the face of it. And I said, that's $1 million title for a $100,000 picture, and so it was.
At this point in the interview, it was time to take a break, so Sam could relight his trademark cigar.
I know that when my cigar goes out, that means I have neglected it, so been talking too much, see? So the question is, you have to decide whether you want to have a glowing cigar or hopefully glowing dialogue.
How about a little of both? Now, where were we? Oh, yeah, titles.
We didn't have any best-selling books. We didn't have any best-selling plays. We didn't have any big directors. We didn't have any big stars. So we had to do something to make our pictures known. Now, obviously, the title was very important, and the artwork was very important. So we did things that most companies said was back-assward.
Maybe some have sneered, but cruising around Hollywood in his classic 1976 Eldorado with a shiny new star on the Walk of Fame nearby, this proud low-budget filmmaker couldn't care less.
I've often said, you know, that my blood doesn't flow if I don't have at least 2 crises a day. But if you're going to make it for $50 million, where you can make all the mistakes you want to, and so on, now that's no challenge to me.
A lot of people in Hollywood would gladly fill you in on trade secrets to success, but few can boast of having been right 51% of the time, as Sam claimed in his recent autobiography.
I really think I've been right a little more than that, but it seems to me when I say 51%, that's conservative, and nobody can really argue with that, you see. I think it's really substantially higher, but that's a little egotistical.
Boast away, Samuel Z. Arkoff. You've earned it. How about that 76 Eldorado? Tasty-looking car, huh? Now, Sam says when he dies, he wants to be buried in that car with his wife in the passenger seat, or maybe the back seat. But Hilda, who has been with him for 47 years, says, no way. Well, anyway, happy birthday, Sam. 75 years old this week. You are indeed a Hollywood legend. Have a great day. Hey, let's eat, okay? See you next time. Let me just get a light here real quick before we do this.